Good evening, everyone. My name is Monica Deuce. I'm a neurobiologist at the Department of Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biologist. In my lab, we feed cake to fruit flies and then try to figure out what happens to their brain. Hashtag badly explain your job. Tonight, it's my honor to introduce Dr. Mary Carol Hunter. Dr. Hunter is an ecologist and a landscape architect. Her research revolves around designing spaces to incorporate natural elements so that promotes mental well-being. So essentially her work is the reason that when we go out we feel very good. So thank you. And tonight she's going to tell us about cultivating aesthetic to fertilize urban farming. Thank you.
Hello everyone. An aesthetic reaction is one that's founded in our sensory experience of the world, what we see, touch, feel, smell. A positive aesthetic experience builds engagement. And when we're engaged and it's something that we like, we tend to protect it. And this is one of the key foundations of sustainability. Urban space is designed to provide ecological ecosystem services, but if designed for beauty, it can also bring psychological ecosystem services like a mental restoration or social cohesion. And so with urban agriculture, the trick is to make it beautiful year-round. The only study on this shows that if urban farms include both art and a place to gather, they have higher memberships compared to farms that are only about the produce. And so, engagement is the key. This farm is a pop-up installation in Queens in the summer of 2008, and it was dedicated this year to the urban farm. And that's wonderful, but it's a rooftop. And it's summertime and it gets disassembled when the summer is over. So how do you do all of this down in dirt and year-round? Well, you can grow more food, or you can also, with the food, grow art and music and community, places for people to gather. In other words, make it multi-purpose, beloved to even those people that will never put a garden glove on in their life. In order to do this, we have to bring beauty. But whose beauty? We want to stop here and make sure we don't engage in the neoliberalist assumptions that we know what everybody will love. Everybody should get to pick for themselves. Here is a typical community garden. This is one I'll show you in a minute again. It's in Detroit. People that have this garden love it, but the neighbors don't necessarily feel the same way. So when I went to investigate this, I looked at a bunch of gardens that had aesthetics that were considered to be just wonderful. And I ended up organizing them in the following way. Public spaces, commercial spaces, nonprofit spaces. The first public space, which we all know from First Lady in Charge, Michelle Obama, produced this thing with already the lovely aesthetic background and tremendous sense of place that this already brings us, and so the aesthetics were handled. This is a rooftop garden in the Youth Center in Chicago, Illinois. And it is designed by a professional landscape architecture firm, won national awards, and is a place for great successful education program for kids in the sciences and in food and health. Here's another public space. This one is in downtown Detroit, put on by this is Lafayette Greens in downtown Detroit. It was put on by CompuWare. It's 3/4 of an acre that has fruits, vegetables, and herbs, all of which are given to Gleaner's Food Bank. And in the meantime, provides an incredible gathering place for anybody that's in downtown Detroit and is always well used. Considered to be another award-winning, lovely aesthetic place. In the world, there's a couple more pictures. In the world of nonprofit, just move a little bit further in downtown Detroit, and we have the Michigan Urban Farm Initiative. This one, as you can see, has a very crisp layout. It's using the borrowed views of the iconic old Detroit landscape. During the off seasons of growing, they're sure to have flowers planted that bring a lot of color. and there's a lot of craftsmanship on site. So again, another beautiful example of a farm that produces food to give away to food banks. The next one is for nonprofits in Detroit, the North Cass Community Garden. This is a space that people are allowed to farm in now. For $25 a year and 4 hours of community service, they can have the startup size lot to grow whatever they wish. This again was designed by a professional landscape architecture firm and has a lot of small details in it that make it seem like a very special place. Like this pseudo wrought iron fence. I don't think it's real. The next space, another nonprofit-based urban garden called the Cadillac Urban Gardens in Detroit, is done on a GM parking lot, abandoned and then reused. And GM donated the cartons that a lot of their car parts come in order to be able to raise the beds off of something that's already a toxic surface. And it's considered to be a very lovely place to look at on all counts. People like to go there and contribute their time and plant their own gardens. So, before I go to the community-based gardens, I want to say that one of the things that was the big deal for all of these was money. So as soon as you go to a community-based garden, that's not necessarily the case anymore. This garden here was started by one man, one neighborhood, now is a collective, huge support from the neighborhood, and the aesthetics have begun. This is a different garden, the Brightmore Community Garden, highly decorated after 15 years of saving children from being indoors from an incredible amount of crime. And one of the things that has come out of many of these places is the idea of how you make it aesthetically beautiful. Right now in Detroit, we have an organization called Keep Growing Detroit, who's in the process of developing aesthetic guidelines to give curb appeal to some of the Detroit community-based gardens. And the New Fitzgerald neighborhood will have this as well. And the last frontier, the American Lawn. And well, what can I say here? There's a lot of potential, but all we can do is hope.